Whenever I'm sitting in this corner, it means I'm gonna talk some shit, okay? Just forewarning you. The books we read this month were trash, and it truly is no one's fault but mine. Ooh, brats. I feel like my makeup is giving brats, and I love that for me. Greetings and salutations, my dearest friends. My name is Samantha, and today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in February. A lot of them weren't that great. They weren't, bestie. Just buckle in. Hello, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. We are going to chat about all of the books that I read in February. To be honest, to be clear, this was not my best reading month. I didn't read a lot of books. I was in a reading slump. A lot of the books that I was reading weren't that great. I try to keep things live, laugh, love on this channel, but I gotta be real with you guys. We read some trash books. Although I did have 2 5-stars that I'm really excited to talk about. Let's go over the stats real quick. I read 12 books in the month of February, which for some people that might be a lot. For me, not so much. I typically do read a little bit more, but I was in a massive reading slump. So out of those 12 books, I had 2 5-stars, 2 4-stars, 4 3-stars, 3 2-stars, and 1 book that was unfortunately 1 star. Hopefully that math is mathing. A few of these I did read for videos and I did film reading vlogs for, so I'll kind of just breeze by them and you'll see my more expansive thoughts in those reading vlogs. So yeah, let's hop in. I guess we should start on a good note. How about we start from 5-star and make our way down to the 1-star, so we can start on a happy note. This next book is actually my favorite book that I read this entire month. I'm pretty sure it's going to make my favorite list of the year. Even though the rest of the books weren't that great this month, this one right here made up for it, and that is Serpentine Valentine by Gianna Darling. She is that girl. This is a sapphic dark academia romance that has a Medusa retelling and a revenge plot. So our heroine Lex in this book, she is going to a very prestigious university. In the beginning of the book, she is unfortunately assaulted by a man that she thought that she could trust, one of her professors. When this happens, the school immediately tries to cover it up. The president of the university, another woman that Lex also thought that she could trust, immediately tries to cover it up. A couple months later, she is back at the university and she wants revenge, okay? She wants revenge against the man that hurt her, or she wants revenge against the woman who covered it up. And in that revenge, she ends up seducing the president of the university's daughter. That's where the sapphic romance comes in. I thought this book was perfect. I don't have a single bad thing to say about it. I think the writing is so beautiful, so lyrical. It has those dark academia vibes. It's also a Medusa retelling, so you get classic literature references, Greek mythology references, with like a sprinkle of pop culture as well. I just think everything in this book was written with such intention and talent. The tropes in this book are just like my favorite thing. I love a good revenge plot. I love a sapphic romance. For me, this book embodies so many things. It embodies that feeling of like female rage, but also like the general queer experience. And I thought the romance was stunning. Rate it 5 stars. My absolute favorite. We can end the video here because really, this made my entire month. Only other 5-star read that we read this month was The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson. This is a contemporary romance, but it does have Omegaverse in it, which I thought was really interesting. I typically don't like contemporary or rom-com books, but this one was just written so perfectly. I loved the Omegaverse elements. It was steamy, it was funny, it was sweet. I feel like if you're not familiar with the Omegaverse universe, this one is actually like a really good place to start for like beginners. So it basically follows our 2 characters who are doctors. Our heroine is an Omega, our hero is an Alpha, and they're both hiding their designations for different reasons. Our heroine is really tired of being set up on awful dates by her meddlesome grandmother, so she's looking for someone to pretend to be her fake boyfriend, and that is where our hero comes in. He needs someone to pretend to be his fake mate. It ends up getting out that he is an alpha. There's a lot of stereotypes that alphas are overly aggressive, and it becomes a concern since he is working in the medical field, and a lot of people believe that alphas that are mated are usually a lot more capable of like controlling their urges, I guess. Anyways, he needs someone to be his fake mate to like appeal to the board. Obviously, this has a fake dating trope. They both end up fake dating. They both can benefit from like the situation, and it follows their romance. And I already talked about the tropes, Omegaverse, fake dating. It also has grumpy sunshine. I really liked both of our characters individually, and together they were just so sweet together. I listened to the audiobook of this and absolutely loved it, so definitely would recommend if you are trying to like just dip your toe into Omegaverse, because Omegaverse can get really crazy. Okay, this one is very spicy and amazing, but Omegaverse can get really crazy. So if you're just looking for like a beginner book, this is it. I loved it. 5 stars. All right, so those are my 2 5-star books. So now we're going to be talking about my 4-star books. So my first 4-star of the month was a fan fiction. This is a Hermione fan fiction. This beautiful book binding was done by Mel over at Mel Binds Fix. I'll leave her Instagram down below. Kind of alternated between reading this physically and listening to the audiobook through e-tail Echo. So yeah, this one was a really good one. The Harry Potter fan fiction, Draco and Hermione end up getting stuck with a broken time turner and transported 200 years in the past. And it follows all of the shenanigans that they get up to. I will say I was hoping for a little bit more spice, just a little bit more. I mean, it's a fan fiction, and the only reason I'm not giving it a 5-star, even though I really did enjoy it, was because it kind of toggled between like past and present time. And it was a little confusing. Sometimes I didn't know which was going on, but I really enjoyed it. And then my last 4-star of the month was a novella. I read quite a few Valentine novellas, so I'll actually just talk about all of those right now. So the first one was Puck Shy by Kayla Grossi. Last year, she came out with a Christmas one called Trick Shot, and this was kind of like a continuation of it because it followed 2 different brothers. So in this book, our hero is a professional hockey player and an actor, and he's having a little bit of a dry spell. So one of his teammates ends up taking him out on Valentine's Day to like this BDSM club, and there he meets our heroine Stevie. One follows Stevie and Lucas's romance. It's Valentine's Day themed, very steamy. It has some BDSM, voyeurism moments, some public sex scene action. It was campy, it was fun, and I loved that it was Valentine's Day themed because Valentine's Day is my favorite holiday ever. So yeah, 4 stars. So I guess I'll just talk about the rest of the Valentine's Day novellas that I read. So next up, I read Petty Cupid by Sarah Blue. In this one, our heroine is literally a Cupid. Like, her job is to make people fall in love, and it's about to be Valentine's Day, and they're having this huge party. However, she was just recently dumped by her trash ex-boyfriend, and she really wants to show up this party looking sexy and having someone sexy on her arms. Ends up bringing a Grim Reaper to this Valentine's Day party, and they have some fun times. This one has a fake dating trope. It also has like BDSM and voyeurism sexy time. I really liked it. I ended up giving it 3 stars. This one was another one that was really campy. The reason I didn't rate it higher was I just felt like, because I almost would have preferred if this was just like a raunchy sexy time. I didn't really feel like the emotional connection between the 2 characters. So by the end of the book, when they were like love bombing each other, I was like, I guess. I just feel like it didn't have enough pages to really develop like an emotional connection. I've said this before, but a 3-star rating is still like a semi-decent rating for me. So the next one that I read was Love Potion by Cindy Paul. This is a graphic novel. It was gifted to me by my friend Tiffany from Tip Talks Pages. Graphics of this one are super cute. It is a fun, cozy, illustrated novel. This one is a sapphic light fantasy book. This is pretty simple. It follows a witch who ends up falling in love with the Princess of the Kingdom. This one isn't Valentine's Day themed, but I read it in like a Valentine's Day reading vlog, which I will leave down below. I've actually been getting more into graphic novels recently. I like the illustrated aspect to them. So yeah, if you have any illustrated or graphic novel recommendations, let me know in the comments down below. This next one, I don't know if I can say this title. I mean, I could, but I don't want to. Anyways, it's called Cupid is a... put it right here, by Dree Danae. This one I rated 3 stars. It was another Valentine's Day novella that I decided to read. Our heroine ends up going like on a dating app around Valentine's Day, matches with 3 people, and they happen to be her hot, sexy bosses. So yeah, this one was like a steamy good time. It was a reverse harem novella set around Valentine's Day. Although for it being a reverse harem, it was lacking the kind of scenes I'm looking for. Okay, you know. I don't have to say it out loud, you know. I wish it was a little bit more steamy. So I did enjoy it, but it just wasn't like my favorite novella ever. All right, we're still talking about the 3-star books. This next one, although it was a 3-star, which I just said was not a bad rating for me, this was probably the most disappointing book I read this month. I highly anticipated this book to be 5 stars, and that was An Education of Malice by S.T. Gibson. I have a whole video on it. I don't know how to describe this. It wasn't bad, but A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson, which is the first book in the series, is like my absolute favorite book of all time. That is a vampire book. It follows Lady Constanza, who is supposed to be like Dracula's first consort, and it follows the life she lives with being Dracula's consort. It's a little bit romantic and gory and gothic. and just so beautifully written. So when I found out that she was coming out with a second installment, I immediately bought it. Immediately purchased the physical copy because I was like, I'm going to love this. This is going to be 5 stars. And it just wasn't. Oh, so sad. So sad. All right, let me actually talk about the book. So this is a dark academia sapphic romance. My favorite things. It's such a disappointment that I didn't love this book more. This is also a Carmilla retelling. It follows Carmilla and Laura, who both go to this very prestigious university. They're kind of like on this journey to impress their poetry professor, Miss De La Fonte. They're both like unexplainably drawn to this woman, and you find out she's a vampire. I mean, that's not a spoiler. You find that out in like the first couple chapters. To be honest, the book itself isn't really focusing like on the vampire element. It's more so focusing on our 2 heroines and their academic rivalry. This is dark academia, so there's a lot of mentions of literature and politics and things like that. And I just felt like this book came off a little pretentious, if I'm being completely honest. And I don't feel like it mastered anything, and I just found it lacking. I wanted more vampires, I wanted more romance, I wanted more everything. So I gave it 3 stars. I was pretty disappointed, and you'll see my full thoughts in the reading vlog. It was a sapphic romance reading vlog, so a little sneak peek there. Right now we're getting into the nitty gritty. We're getting to the books that I would not recommend. I wouldn't recommend to my worst enemy. I would not wish any of these books upon them. The first one, well, this one wasn't. No, this one is pretty bad. It was actually our book pick for the Historical Hellions. If you didn't know, I have a historic romance book club. In the month of February, we read Till Dawn Tames the Night by Megan McKinney. This is a pirate romance. The cover is so pretty. This stuff back is gorgeous, but the inside, it was boring. It was boring. There wasn't anything like inherently wrong or offensive about this book. It was just so slow and really did nothing, and it was like 500 pages. Yeah. The premise does sound interesting, but don't be fooled by that. So our hero is a notorious pirate, and he is looking for this jewel that is essentially rumored that whoever owns this jewel is able to like defeat their enemies or something real dramatic like that. And the only person that would know where it is our heroine. Her father stole and hid this gem, and she's supposedly the only person to know where it is. However, she doesn't even know about it. She's an orphan and doesn't know anything about like her family dynamics. Our hero ends up tricking her into getting on his ship, where he then kidnaps her and tries to get her to tell her where this gem is. There is a side romance. There's a lot of side characters and side plot going on. It just was so incredibly slow. The romance wasn't romancing. The plot wasn't plotting. That's all I have to say about it. It was just kind of boring, so I would definitely skip that. Next 2 were a part of that reading vlog I was mentioning earlier, so I'll kind of like breeze through them. First is The Coldest Touch by Isabel Sterling. This is a YA sapphic vampire romance. One of our heroines is a vampire. The other heroine is what they call the Death Oracle. While she's in high school, something really traumatic happens. Her brother dies, and she like sees him die right in front of her eyes, and now she is able to sense how people are going to die just by looking or touching them. Is what the supernatural realm is calling the Death Oracle, which is like this all-powerful being. So our heroine, who is a vampire, is supposed to train her and convince her to work for like the supernatural realm. The supernatural element to this made absolutely no sense, okay? The world building was alluded to, but it was never properly explained. And then the romance, like, I was pretty sure that one of the heroines was straight pretty much the entire book. The entire book, I was like, is she gay? And if I have to question that in a sapphic romance, yeah. I know it's YA, but you can still do like a really good romance out of it. I don't know, I hated it. That's it. I'm not gonna talk about it anymore because I did read it for a vlog. The next one that I read is another sapphic vampire book. It's called Good Enough to Eat by Alison Gray. One of our heroines is a vampire. The other is a djinn, so they're both supernatural creatures. Our heroine, who's a vampire, is really trying not to drink blood. She almost killed someone because of bloodlust, and she's feeling really guilty for that. So she's trying to quit cold turkey. So she ends up going to an Alcohol Anonymous meeting, an AA meeting, to stop craving blood, and that is where she meets our heroine. This one was like that very like early 2000 humor that just doesn't hold. There's a lot of pop culture references that just don't don't stand the test of time and might even be a little problematic now. So I didn't enjoy this one. It was trying to be funny and it was indeed not. It was anything but. So yeah, 2 stars. And then the last book we read was The Bane of My Existence. Okay, I hated this book, truly, deeply. And it's disappointing because I actually thought that this was going to be a 5-star read. And it's because it's a part of one of my favorite series. It's the 4th book in a series. It was trash. So C. Rochelle has a superhero series where basically it's a bunch of male-male romances where superheroes and villains have romances. At the series, it follows like one main plot and a like specific villainous family. Premise to all of these books are so interesting and engaging. The writing is really funny. I love the first 3 books in the series. I've raved about them endlessly. But this last book, hot garbage. Like, I was devastated. It took me nearly 2 weeks to finish this book. It put me in a massive reading slump. Anyways, I didn't even say the name. I don't want to say the name, but I'm going to. It's called Enter the Multiverse. Yeah, like verse. You know, you get it? Because they're top, bottom. Okay. Anyways, it follows twins who share the same love interest. And that's all you need to know. That's all you fucking need to know. This book made me want to vomit, okay? Yeah. I don't feel like I even need to tell you anything other than why was that the choice? Why are they sharing the same person at the same time? I want to vomit right now thinking about it. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. I'm not even going to explain the plot of this book because it's a spoiler for the rest of the series, and I don't even want you to read it, so just keep in mind that it was trash. And that's it. We ended this book on a low note, but I have high hopes for March. I do. And I'm really excited for some of the content that I filmed this month, and I still need to edit. If you stayed this long and listened to me rant about trash books, I mean, not all the books that we read were trash. Let's leave some emojis. Let's leave an emoji for my favorite book that we read this month, Serpentine Valentine. And let's leave a bunch of snakes. Just little slithering snakes in the comments. Okay? Leave a snake and I know that you're a real one. Alright, thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. It means the world to me. I hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!